Ciao everyone, this is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the immigrant caravan from Central America and if we can even help these people. But before we start unpackaging that topic, as a quick reminder that if you like videos of cultural, political, and religious commentary from a different point of view, then give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications. For the last several weeks now, we've been hearing a lot about the immigrant caravan from Honduras and the other Central American countries moving its way northward to the Mexican-US border. Now, supposedly it formed because of the poverty and crime in Honduras and in Central America in general, or supposedly it formed because it's a left-wing ideological October surprise for the US midterms. Regardless of why it started and how it started, that's not what we're going to be talking about in this video today. But speaking of ideologues, many of them have been making the case that the caravan has every legal right to actually enter into the United States. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the New York socialist congressional candidate, made this point, saying that the caravan shouldn't be called a caravan, for some reason, that they should be called refugees who have every legal right to enter into the country and claim asylum. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, which sounds more and more Orwellian the more times I say it, indicated the same thing, with a spokesman Charlie Yaxley saying, "Any individuals within that group that are fleeing persecution and violence, they need to be given access to territory and they need to be allowed to exercise their fundamental human rights to seek asylum and have access to refugee status determination procedures." And the people in the caravan think the same thing, actually filing a class action lawsuit against the Trump administration in the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., claiming that the administration's attempts to keep them out of the U.S. violates the Constitution's Due Process Clause in the Fifth Amendment, which guarantees that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, at least according to the caravan's lawyer, John Shorman. Now, a lot of different things could be said on a lot of these different points, and I have no doubt that we'll be getting to at least some of those in the future. But I don't want to talk about those today. I want to focus instead on a very simple question. Can we even help these people? I'm going to take a leap of faith here for a second and assume that most of the people who are saying that the caravan has every legal right to come into America and seek asylum is doing it out of the goodness of their hearts and a genuine desire to help their fellow man. After all, it's not really a secret that Honduras and the rest of Central America aren't exactly a tropical paradise, and it's perfectly reasonable for well-intentioned people to want other people to come to America for a fresh start. To raise the ghost of an old adage for 1 second, America is kind of a nation of immigrants. And I'm a product of that adage myself, my Irish and Sicilian ancestors having crossed the Atlantic to take advantage of the American dream and that new life, that new future, that new potential. I don't know if this is true or not. Like I said, I'm making an assumption that these people's hearts are in the right place. But even though your heart is in the right place, that doesn't mean that an idea is a good one. And that's the case here, because the plain truth of the matter is that we can't take care of these people. Nate, what do you mean? America is one of the richest, most prosperous nations in the world. The economy keeps getting better. Both sides are admitting it now. So why do you say we can't take care of these people? And the answer, very simply, is that we can't even take care of our own people. Take this story that ran last week on FoxNews.com. Veterans are sleeping in their cars to access medical care, and it's only getting worse. The story says that veterans who live far away from the VA facilities that best treat their conditions have to pay out of pocket the night before their admittance or during long-term outpatient therapy, like chemotherapy. And since in large cities, hospitals can cost anywhere up to $300 a night, and the VA doesn't do anything to help alleviate these prices, many veterans are either foregoing care or actually sleeping in their cars or living in their vehicles in order to make ends meet. Add to that there are currently 20 million veterans in the United States. This problem, like the author James Shennick says, is only going to get worse. Now, there are private charities that are trying to do something to help our vets, places like the Fisher House Foundation and the Lee and Penny Anderson Defenders Lodge. But like Shennick points out, the VA is going to have to start doing something itself. And that leads to a rather embarrassing question. How did the federal department created specifically to help our vets allow things to get this bad? Take another example, the homeless problem in Los Angeles. As you might have heard, 2 weekends ago, I went to my very first Politicon, which was held in Los Angeles. I stayed in a room downtown, walked around a little bit, and I was absolutely appalled by the poverty that I saw there. People sleeping in bus stops and in makeshift shelters that were so crummy that they don't even deserve to be called shelters. People sprawled out along the lawn of City Hall and in the lawns of other public buildings. And I couldn't believe that in 21st century America, people were so poor that they still had to live like this. And in fact, as I read, the problem is even worse than what I saw. According to the Los Angeles Times, the homeless population in LA exploded by 75% in a span of 6 years, from 32,000 to 55,000. 41,000 of that number can be classified as unsheltered, which is the largest of any U.S. city. To make these numbers a little bit more manageable, chew on this fact. The homeless population in the United States in 2017 would have actually gone down for the first time since 2008 if the homeless in Los Angeles hadn't been counted. Or take a third example, since we're probably not depressed enough as it is, the poverty rate present on Indian reservations. According to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, yes, that actually still exists, Indians who live on reservations taken as a group are the most impoverished group in these United States, making stories like this from CNN last year a common occurrence. Part of the problem here is that the federal government owns all of the reservation land and also owns all of the economic development that takes place on those lands, meaning that Indians who want to start a business or who want to profit from the natural resources on their land have to go through a heck of a lot more red tape and bureaucracy than most other people. The purpose of this video is not to go into great detail into any one of these problems, as you've probably seen. It's not to come up with solutions to these problems. And it's certainly not to say that the solution is to raise taxes or create some new government program. The question is much more simple, and it's simply to ask, can we really take care of the people in this caravan while there are Americans living here in our own country right now who are suffering like this? If there are Americans living in abject poverty like there are, shouldn't our first duty be towards them, our fellow citizens, our fellow countrymen, and our fellow Americans? If you don't agree with that, consider it from this angle. How can we take care of the people in this caravan when we can't even take care of our own? These 3 examples that I've outlined show that there has been a failure, not just on the part of the people that we elected to be our leaders, local and federal, but a failure for our part as well, the common Joes and Jans on the street in everyday Americana. If things are this broken so that there are Americans living in third world countries in 21st century America, shouldn't we try to fix that problem, or fix it as best we can, before accepting new people into the system? And in case there are some people who are going to comment, it may be bad here, it may not be perfect here, but it's better than it is in Central America, consider this. No one, American or immigrant, is going to be helped by putting more people into the system. To take one example, the federal government is the ward of all the Indians who live on the reservations. And like I mentioned, those people are the most impoverished group in all of America. The federal government has failed them. How is the federal government, how is the system going to actually improve the lives of the people coming north in the caravan? It's not. It can't. But what say you? Should Americans help their fellow Americans first and try to fix the system so that other people coming in can be helped too? Or does charity demand that we help anyone who comes in, regardless of the circumstances and regardless of the results? As always, I want to hear what you all think down in the comments section below. Well, that about wraps it up for right now, gang. As always, if you like this video, whether you agree with me or not, give it a like, leave a comment in the box below, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications because I post new videos like this every Tuesday and you won't want to miss them. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you all again here next week on Top of the Stone. Ciao.